This is Spotlight Omaha. Spotlight Omaha is a local podcast that highlights local businesses and influential movers and shakers in the Omaha business community. Spotlight Omaha is brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Now, from the Pyramid Contractor Studios, the host of Spotlight Omaha, Jimmy Allen.
Good morning and welcome inside the Spotlight Omaha podcast, where we take you around the city of Omaha, introduce you to local business owners, influential figures, and people who are making an impact on our community. We are brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. If your company's not showing up at the top of Google searches, maybe you don't have an ad campaign running on Meta right now, Pixel Fire Marketing can help you out with all that and design you an award-winning website along the way. Check out pixelfiremarketing.com for more details today. Joining us inside the Pyramid Contractor Studio today is Wilson Munsterman, the author of Marked by Adoption. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
You're all over the city of Omaha with famous Creighton basketball players taking pictures and pushing the book right now. But more importantly, your message. Can you tell people what Marked by Adoption is about and kind of give us your story?
Yeah, well, Marked by Adoption is a book I wrote. Got the idea of it summer of senior year, going into college. Was able to get it done in my first year. But really, it's a quick, 2-hour short read. Our brains like fast. Each chapter is about 10 to 15 pages.
Welcome to TikTok.
Absolutely. It's great. Yeah. But it's about 10 insights I think that the world should know about adoption. It's for parents, who have adopted kids. It's for adoptees to feel understood. It's about for people questioning adoption, or even someone just curious about what it is. And so I, took 10 things from my life that have happened to me, experiences, and put
you're
on a
adopted.
page. I am adopted, yes. And quick, recap of my story. I was found on a doorstep in China, no forms of identification. Got checked out by the hospital, bounced around the orphanage system there. The exact number and what happened during that time is really unclear. There's a lot of unfavorable things happening. And
is that a struggle for you?
It definitely is something where it's like I know it happened, but since I don't have the memories, but I mean it still is. It's not as important, but I still am like, oh my gosh, that happened. Yeah, I survived it. And with China during I was born in 2006, and with the one child policy and all those culture things, if you want a healthy male, I'm a healthy male.
Yeah,
and I made it out of China, and adopted at 10 months by my parents here. And what's crazy is that most international adoptions, the parents go and meet the child, come back, do the paperwork. Not the case. It was literally just my parents got a call Thursday night. Hey, we have a baby boy here. Would you like to meet him? That Sunday, I was in their home.
And I want to make sure I don't want to misquote or say anything correct. That's not a possibility in China, right? You're not allowed to go and meet the child in the state, right?
I mean, yes and no. It's been on and off because just with government conflicts, and then
is that a topical thing right now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, it's just been on and off with this, especially in the adoption world. And so my story just is, it's unheard of to have a child essentially be, as I call it, brought to their parents.
Yeah. For sure.
And especially in that quick 72 hours turnaround. Could you imagine if I said, hey, by the way, you're gonna have a kid in 72 hours from a different country? Get ready.
How many people are willing to say yes to that? Right?
Yeah, that's incredible.
I gotta ask, in the book, did you interview your parents at all and get their thoughts on it?
I actually didn't too much. I wanted to write it for me and from me, and it was something to where it was like a lot of what I do is I position myself in the book, kind of like the prologue. I say I'm not a parent.
It's almost an autobiography without being an autobiography.
Yeah, it's a autobiography, journal, text, but hybrid. That's what I put in Amazon for the But it's I didn't want to talk about parenting.
Buy one today.
Amazon. I don't talk about parenting. I don't talk about psychology classes because I don't have any training. I talk about being an adoptee and overcoming my story and what it's taught me. And so I really speak from being me. And that's something, I'm a master at because I'm the only me.
Yeah. And I use the phrase, we're the main characters in our own story a ton on this podcast. The thing I want to ask, though, is we just got done talking. Two of the last 14 episodes, we've talked with people that deal with severe trauma. And a lot of times, we put people in boxes without them asking us to do that, right? Has that been a struggle for you through your life with the title of the book is Marked by Adoption. Has it been a struggle for you to not try to make that your identity, or is it so much a part of yourself that you want it to be part of your identity?
I mean, that's a really great question. And that's probably one of the most in-depth questions I've ever had. So thank you for asking that. And I mean, adoption is essentially what I've said. I came out with something the other day, and it was adoption at its base is a legal transferring of responsibilities for a child.
Yeah.
Right. How someone interprets their adoption, that's completely up to them. Me, I don't want it to be.
It's not always based in love.
It's not always based in love. It's not the world's not always sunshine and rainbows.
Fair.
But it's for me, it's I didn't want it to be I didn't want it to be the only thing about me. You know, I don't go around and say, hey, I'm Wilson, I'm adopted. It's hey, I'm Wilson, I'm a Detroit Lions fan, and that's a heartbreaking season we just had. I thought we were gonna win it all.
Hey, buddy,
yeah.
be glad you were born in 06.
Yeah,
Because
no
there was
kidding.
a lot of hard times for Detroit Lions fans before that.
It was like, it just, you know, it's a part of me, but it doesn't define me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think, get defined by their adoption. You know,
or their traumas in life.
Oh, absolutely. It's they attribute in my mind their work to the birth parents, and it's the whole phrase of, if I wasn't good enough for them, if I wasn't good enough to be kept, if I wasn't good enough for, you know, to be loved by these birth mothers who I hear, you know, I took one look at my child's eyes and I knew that's, you know, the one for me. If I didn't have that, what's wrong with me? And I went through that phase.
Is it fair though? And maybe not fair is the right. Does it help you understand the situation? Because you mentioned the one child in China rule and the fact that it may not have been their choice. Does that help you process that? And maybe it's easier to do that later in life, but like
it absolutely does. And I mean, with my story, you know, fortunately, I'll say fortunately for me, is I won't ever know my answers. I won't ever know what happened. And so for me, others might have, with, you know, 23andMe and all these DNAs, they might be able to find answers. For me, I won't ever have those answers. So it's, how do I learn how to live in the gray? And I've made really good peace of that. I've made the, you know, terms with, I'm never going to find out, but okay, I'm going to cut my losses. I'm going to look at all that adoption is giving me. Great family, great school district. It's led to, you know, a nice scholarship at Creighton University, meeting great friends I'll have for life. And so it's like, our time's limited. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather focus on the positives and see the gifts of life.
And most people that overcome their trauma or situations in their life, it's because they've been able to look at the bright side of things. I'm glad you've been able to find that, but I'm sure it hasn't always been that easy. I want to talk about your parents for a minute, if you don't mind. What have they done in case anybody's watching this, maybe considering adoption or going through the process right now? What have your parents done to make that trauma or processing that trauma easier for you?
They were able to be very open about it. You know, they were adopted themselves, which is super cool. So, you know, we're a family bonded by love, not by biology.
That's incredible.
And
they
so,
both were?
Yeah, both were adopted.
Wow.
And so they were always able to be very open and stuff, but, you know, they were from a different time. They had me later in life. You know, my dad was born in 1969, so he's one of those old heads who can't, you know, still thinks Jordan's the GOAT and stuff. Correctly, yeah. You know, absolutely. But I mean, so it was one of those things where they never made me feel different. They weren't thinking, oh, I'm raising an adopted child. They're thinking, I'm raising my child.
Well, I'm raising me to some degree too.
And so it was just, they were always open. They always let that door be open, let me take it when I would have hard times. So I'd come in crying, you know, what happened? Why wasn't I enough? They'd always be there, console me. But not only did they help me have those feelings, they never let them define me. It was always, okay, let's have them, but how do we move forward? Because they weren't going to let me get trapped. And that's the greatest gift they've ever given me.
I know we're not going to find an 8-year-old watching this podcast anywhere. But somebody maybe later in life is going to see this and maybe struggling with identity crisis. Was there an aha moment for you where you realized, hey, it's not so bad? I'm in this situation.
Yeah,
what
absolutely. It looked like, so the book is called Marked by Adoption, right?
Yeah.
It actually has a meaning for me, is that I have a brand on my left side where I was actually marked with a physical mark by my adoption. And we think the highest possibilities is from the orphanages as like a you know, identification brand, or you know, just kind of who I am. And so I mean, every time I looked at it, it would always bring me down. You know,
a little bit of shame.
Absolutely shame. And then I realized one day it just got old. It just absolutely got old. I'm just like, oh my God, this is never going to leave. I'm never not going to be adopted. So how do I make the best of it? How do I look at all the bright sides, and how to really flip the script? And a big part of that was in the support systems I had. You know, my parents, friends were the biggest one in my life, you know, and so just looking at all those blessings, you know, how could I not be happy and joyous now?
You mentioned you end up in a good school system. What high school did you go to?
I went to Westside High School.
You went to Westside. It's a great school system.
It's amazing school system.
What was it about your journey at Westside? Let's look at both sides. The glass half full, glass half empty situation. What was it that was struggle? Because I mean, you're also a minority. You come from China, and you're in a mainly all white school district. I mean, the majority white school district. Was that a struggle for you?
Not at all. Not at all. Because my parents, you know, raised me to. When you look at somebody, you see a person.
Fair.
I don't look at you when I see a white man. I see a person. And so it's treat others the way you want to be treated. That's the golden rule.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's how it was. That's how I, you know, went through high school, and I didn't encounter anything. You know, I know it's not, you know, always sunshine and rainbows with other kids through high school, and they might encounter some. But for me, but for me, it was great. I mean, I had teachers there that supported me, friends there that I'll carry for a lifetime. Like I'm going to be in my friend's wedding now coming up in a few months, you know, Sean and Sarah.
Shout out Sean and Sarah.
Yeah. I'm going to be in their wedding, and I've known Sean. He was my book buddy in elementary school, went through West Side. That's you know, awesome. He's a couple years older than me, but it's just the fact that relationships I have like that, I owe it all to West Side, because, you know, it's a caring, fostering environment.
And I had the exact opposite effect of where, you know, I was a white child in a mainly minority environment, and almost the same situation. And we see in society that there's so many differences in races, and we're all put in our own corners, and like, we're all just people.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, we're just people. We want to be treated with respect, love, and that's it.
And we're catching up with Wilson Munsterman of the author of Marked by Adoption, here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. I jokingly said earlier, welcome to the TikTok era. Not a lot of people aspiring to be authors from your generation.
Yeah, no.
Why was writing a book the right answer for you?
Because I realized I was talking to a mother. So I have a big mentor inspiration in my life. Her name's Shannon Bingham.
Okay.
And she is like a Miss Nebraska, Miss Midwest, pageant queen, business owner, philanthropist.
Would love to have
adoptive mother. Absolutely. I'll send that over. She just is a knockout superstar. And she really got me into adoption work. She's the reason why I'm in it.
Sure.
She invited me to testify my senior year of high school for a resolution at the Capitol. That didn't sadly go anywhere. But from there, that experience, it really opened my eyes of this is work that needs to be done.
And you have a platform you can speak about.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and from there, it's been podcasts, TV, radios. And, you know, I think this week alone, I have a couple podcasts and TVs coming out.
We appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. And it's just, how do I really get the message out? And
what is the message?
That, for me, I have a couple messages. You know, you can't really, adoption's a big thing where you can't just have like one straight up. But for me, for everyone, I say I've learned that life's hard. Life's going to throw crap in my face. It's going to beat me down. But at the end of the day, how much do I let it affect me? And that's something I really want everyone to know, that, you know, life's going to throw, you know, crap at you.
Yeah.
But
you can cuss on this. It's okay.
Okay. It's good. Life's going to throw shit at you.
There you go. There it is.
But get up, put your head down, lean on friends, lean on family, lean on faith. And you're going to get through it. I promise you. The world will come up, you know, the sun's going to come out tomorrow. And it's just kind of having that. I want to have more resources for adoption, and not just the adoptee, right? A lot of things, when you think of adoption, you think of,
because it doesn't stop once the kid goes.
No, absolutely not. When you sign the papers and the child gets placed in your home, that's when your adoption journey begins.
That's not the end.
Yeah, no. And I want more support for the adoptee, more support for the parents, because that's a huge thing. Adoption right now costs anywhere, in my mind, I think, is like $15,000 to $60,000.
Yeah.
You don't make that decision lightly.
No.
And so I want more resources for the parents to lean on support.
You have to tell they're at least 18, 19, longer than that.
Yeah, that
financial obligations.
Yeah, if you have a boy from probably 14 to 18, that food bill is going to double a little bit. And so
there's sports, there's activities.
Yeah, you're just getting started, and I want more support for the parents, and then most importantly, I want support for the birth mothers. You know, you have to realize that I wasn't sculpted out of clay. Someone gave birth to me, and
somebody's losing something.
Yeah, as much love as we have for the child and the family and the parents, we need to also have for the birth mother.
Yeah, I agree.
And, you know, no matter the circumstances, don't come from a place of judgment, come from a place of grace and understanding for all. And that's how we all move forward together.
You're at Creighton now. We just mentioned that. What are you studying?
Right now, I'm probably going to double up on marketing and management. Okay. I think that's super cool. I like marketing. I like, how do I kind of the psychology of how do I get someone to do something without actually telling them?
Yep.
And then I want the management piece. So if I do go, climb up the ladders and later in career, it gives me an edge to learn how to be a better leader and how do I lead a team and those aspects.
How does that help you with your platform and your ability to, let me rephrase this question. Would you like to take what you do now in helping adoptive mothers, birth parents, and being an advocate for children being adopted to become a career? Or is this something you want just to be passionate and to do when you want to for the right reasons?
That's a really good question, and that's been on my mind a lot. Right now, I'm kind of just letting the world tell me what to do. Sure. And I love what I do, and right now I'm kind of seeing how far this can take me. If it can become a career where I can, start, even start speaking even more and get booked, and it'd be wonderful. I'd love to make this a career, but I'm also realistic of that. I do want a 9 to 5 to have insurance and 401k and cash flow. That really helps. So for the time being, I want it to be a side gig, but if it can turn someday into a full-time thing, that'd be wonderful, because the needs out there, and I know my message comes from a place of good, and I believe that what I can say can help others. And because I was in their shoes, I was the adoptee doubting myself. And I just want to help those out there.
And how old are you now? So
I'm
2006, you'd be 19, right?
19 years old. Yeah.
Have you thought, and obviously when you don't have a life partner yet,
Yeah,
I'm assuming, I don't want
no,
to judge.
no, I don't.
But have you thought about what maybe adopting or being a father of your own right may look like someday?
I mean, I've always wanted to adopt.
Sure.
I think with what I've known and what I've learned from other angles, I think I could really help somebody. And, that's not the reason why I want to do it, if that makes sense. I don't think I'm going to be saving this kid, but I really think a kid out there could benefit from not just my love, but love in general and a safe place. And I really would love to adopt someday. I think it's one of God's gifts to be a father. And I just hope I can, really achieve that.
I'm a father of 3 little girls, man. There's nothing
awesome.
There's nothing like it, and that's something my wife and I have talked about too. Is we're done having kids of our own, but maybe later in life, looking at helping out a child in need as well. And the foster system can always use extra bodies that can improve the situation, not make it worse. Fostering is not a chance for financial gain, by the way. No. That's my one public service announcement today.
No,
that is a situation where it should be done from love and for all the right reasons. Is there anything you've learned? Let's make this situationally about Omaha and the state of Nebraska. Is there anything that you've learned about the adoption process in the state of Nebraska, or maybe even the city of Omaha, that you think can improve, or you would like to see change?
Yeah, I'd like to see more resources. There's not a lot of resources. There's not like you look up adoption resources, and we have, of course, I've done stuff with NCHS, which is an adoption foster care agency. Release Inc. I've done stuff with them. DHHS, they're all great, but they're all essentially small in their own right
and handcuffed by finances a little
bit. I think if we can get one organization, this is a dream of mine to start it one day. Hopefully get like a super team together of people who've been in and out of the system and adoptive mothers, but get like a Power Rangers of adoption. See how do we help, and how do we get funding, and really start the company where it's okay. You are adopting a child. You're thinking about adoption. Anything you say the word adoption, boom, we're going to send you over to Wilson and this company to be named later. And going to get all the resources, get, summer camps for kids that are adopted and even not adopted, because, in my mind, it's adoption, situation shouldn't be the reason why you like somebody, let's not make it a difference.
You don't have to be everybody's friend either.
No. Yeah. Let's not make it an in-group, out-group thing. Let's just make it a thing. I don't want adoption to be the only thing in these kids' lives, but let's make it, we know it's going to be something
somewhere they can feel safe talking about.
And for the parents too. Parenting's hard. I know that, but there's no book my dad's famous line to me is there's no book to be how to be a parent, because
if there was, it'd be the best sold book in the world.
100%. And it's never going to be a book.
Every kid's different.
Yeah. And so I really want that support, and especially for birth mothers who find themselves, oh my gosh, I'm with child. Well, I wanted this to be a safe place. Okay, well, let's look at all your options.
Because people are so quick to judge, and
absolutely,
and that's got to be that's probably the toughest thing outside of giving up the child is how am I going to be looked at after this if I can't financially provide, or I'm not in a situation or thought differently about by society because I'm trying to do what's best for my child right now. Yeah. What does growth look like for you in this sense over the next 2 to 3 years? Like, as far as where would you like to see the book grow to?
I'd like to see the book grow to a more national level. I mean, we've done pretty good. What's super cool is I actually did a sale in Spain.
Oh, wow.
So the book is now worldwide. And that just kind of, when I saw that notification, I'm like, hold on, let me double check this. And it said Spain.
Yeah.
So 3,000-4,000 miles away from me, someone's reading what I've written down. It's kind of like emotional when I talk about it.
And again, it's Marked by Adoption. We're catching up with Wilson Munsterman, the author of Marked by Adoption, here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. Walk me through the process. I go to Amazon right now.
And for Amazon, just look up Marked by Adoption, Wilson Munsterman, Munsterman.
Spelled at the top of your screen.
Yep, it should be $14.99, and that's soft cover, and hardback cover is $24.99.
What has that process been like for you? Learning how to write a book, sell a book, do publishing, but also a little bit of a tour, doing podcasts and things like this. How has that process been for you?
Oh, it's been awesome. So I didn't really have anybody to lean on for it. I had Shannon Bingham and a couple of other people that I could be, hey, you're out there, what podcast, where could I go? And but for me, it was really a self-learning journey of that. Like within a year, I go, okay, I'm gonna write a book, wrote it, realized that revising and editing, that's all just human error. Well, now I have AI for free. I don't have to pay for anybody for that.
Welcome
Boom.
To 2025. Baby.
Look at self-publishing from Amazon. They handle all the tax forms. I essentially just put in my main. I put on my manuscript, make a cover, Okay, they handle everything else. I set the price, boom, push it out. And there's more, it's definitely more work marketing it, How do I find people who have the audience and then align my values with
Find
them?
somebody studying marketing at Creighton.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. Yeah. No, and so, I'm really grateful for Jackson McAndrews and Ty Davis from Creighton. We brought them up earlier.
Yeah.
They took a photo with me, more than gracious. And what was really cool about them, and I'm going to sing their blessings right now, is I asked other people before them to say, hey, would you take a photo with me with the book? These people would have a couple thousand followers, just really just on your story, even 24 hours, no one would even know about it, but just, hey, I support this kid, go check his book out. Cause I was, any sale was great.
It's free.
It's free to do that. Well, then I'd get the, oh man, I don't know. I don't want it to, I don't know what people would think, really caring about what people think. I texted both of them and they go, done. Done. And it's just the great guys and, amazing.
And it's crazy. We just interviewed Mike Nesbitt, the new Creighton assistant coach. Check out the Roll Jays podcast for that interview tomorrow. And we asked specifically about those two guys because with all of the incoming upperclassmen coming in, the Creighton's brought into the transfer portal, all of them referenced Ty Davis and Jackson McAndrews specifically. And it's crazy to see, we talked about leadership a little bit here, to see two kids that are going to be sophomores in college have that range and have that wherewithal to know I can be a leader and I can be a stand-up person on my university's campus and help somebody that I don't even really know.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And they're just great people. And even, Zook is there. He's just, due to things, unfortunately, he wasn't able to get a photo, but he was more than willing of just, I support you. This is great. And just having someone with that audience and that kind of, outreach, they've lived a lot. They've, gone through that recruiting process and, really when you're an athlete, I think you mature a little bit faster than everybody. And, have those guys really love it.
We had Ryan Kalkbrenner in our other studio a couple of months ago when he finally left Creighton. And the thing he talked about that he never really got used to was somebody standing 4 feet away from him that would just take a picture of him standing there. And he would say, hey, do you want to come over here? I'll take a picture with you. And they would be like, no, I'm okay. And that's just something that, like, when you're 7'2", you can't really hide anymore.
No.
And that's something that was a big thing for Ryan to overcome. And I think we see athletes on the court or the field, and it's just where the only place we associate with them, not knowing or even think about, they have to live their lives.
They're people basis. Too.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask about your situation. Have you thought any more about helping children being adopted from China? Is that a big deal for something for you to do, or do you just want to help everybody?
I just want to help everybody. Sure. I don't want to create in the world today. You have to be very careful about how you speak. Anything that you can say, there's a chance it's going to get used against you. And so I just want to help everybody. Yeah, that doesn't exist. But yeah, I want to help everybody. Everyone's got struggles. Everyone's got crap to deal with, and I really just want to help people. And whether it's through, my big thing is it's kind of simple. It's through therapy. I've gone through therapy, and I admit that now. It's when bad things happen, what do you do to overcome it? Okay, so I have a bad day. I think I'm nothing. Okay, what do? Go for a walk, go for a run, cook, call a friend. How do we limit the time that I'm going to feel bad so we can get back to feeling great and helping others? And then that's really what it is all broken down.
And I think that's the biggest problem with people struggling with depression and like mental illness and things like that is a lot of times there's the wait process. Let's wait until somebody comes and helps me. Because a lot of times those symptoms can cripple you, right? And you're not able to do it yourself. And I think having the wherewithal that, hey, there isn't, like, not having that savior complex, I have to do this myself. I think that's a big mental hurdle for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, I mean, for me, it's at the end of the day, yes, I could wait for someone to help me, and I would have people there, but one, I felt like it's at the end of the day, it's not the crap to deal with; it was mine, and I wanted to take responsibility. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna go get help, and it's been great ever since.
One more time, it's Marked by Adoption, for sale on Amazon right now, $14.99. We'll get you this lovely soft cover, $24.99 for the hardcover.
Yep.
And this is Wilson Munsterman. He is the author of Marked by Adoption. If you have any questions, we're going to tag him on socials and all that. We covered a lot today. Is there anything about Marked by Adoption that we haven't mentioned that people should know about?
No, it's just, go-to kind of journal textbook hybrid stories from my life, what I think the world should know about adoption, parents, adoptees, and it's from the reviews I've had, it's life-changing. It's, quick. I've heard adoptees say it's, making them feel seen and heard. And, parents say that it helped me understand what my child could go through. Birth mothers say that I've had them text me, I'm living without the guilt now of placing my child for adoption. So it's a book that I call changing. It's changing adoption. It's changing the way the world sees adoption, how adoptees feel, and, what adoption can be. And so if you want to be a part of that conversation, I'd say check it out and hopefully just open your eyes to what it could be.
That handsome face is right on the back of the book as well.
Thank you. Yes.
Appreciate you doing this, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's been an honor.
This has been the Spotlight Omaha podcast brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. Check out Marked by Adoption. Check out the podcast tomorrow. We got a brand new business owner coming in Omaha. We'll see you tomorrow at 11. Thanks for being here. It has been the Spotlight Omaha podcast brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. We'll see you in the morning.